Aquí está. Next year, this year, no.
Sorry? We're just going to give 1 minute.
So I think school. To keep it track, because there is a good thing and bad thing happen. I already.
네. 네, 해놨어요.
Just as they had, as the kids are tired, and also the parents are tired, because 1.5 hour, we are keeping
We'll get started. Are we live streaming now?
Yep.
Okay. About 2 or 3 minutes ago, I was thinking it's a little reminiscent of COVID, talking to an empty room, talking to a camera. So, welcome on the live stream. Welcome in the room. We're going to just go through some of your questions. There's a few things that I want to just kind of give you a little bit of a heads up about. I will just start with a couple of reminders. So we have got a new partnership agreement. If you haven't read it this year, please do make sure that you do read that partnership agreement. A little bit of a reminder, a little bit of a plug. I hope you've seen the newsletter. Please give me some feedback on the format of the newsletter, give me some feedback on the content. That's a monthly publication now, we're using Google Slides. It is protected, so it doesn't come up on a search. That's really important. So nobody can access this through Google. You have to have the link to be able to access this. You can't type in newsletter, it's not going to come up in any search. So it is protected in the sense that only the parents who receive the email and and family that the link shared with can open that newsletter. That's really important because that's about safeguarding your children's images, safeguarding safeguarding your children. So please don't share it into the open net, don't share it into the open web. It's intended for existing parents and families, and it's there so that you can see the learning and share in the learning that's going on. If it was externally facing, I would have to be cutting the images out, blurring faces on the images, and then we don't get to see the joy on the children's faces as they engage in their learning, so it's a little bit counterproductive. So this is just for existing parents. It is not used in any external facing media. So just a reminder of our motto, learn, love, lead. Remember that whatever we do it with our hearts, and we do it for the Lord. So, I'd like to get into the first topic. The first topic that I was asked about was about substitute teachers. Basically, we have in school a number of full-time employed staff. Those staff, their job is to substitute. So they're known to the school, they know the systems, they know the procedures, they know all of the staff and the students as well. So our TA subs actually have been working with the school for a number of years. Some of them have been with us a long time. And their role is quite simple. The teacher sets the work for the lesson. So we'll take Miss Lima, because that's the thing where this has come from. So Miss Lima Lee has got married. Congratulations, Miss Lima. Wonderful wedding. She invited her class to the wedding as well, which was lovely. She's got married, so she's on her honeymoon at the moment. She's away for 1 week, so before she left, she planned every single lesson for her absence.
Disconnected.
So the substitute teacher will pick up that lesson plan and follow the lesson plan that's been planned by the specialist. The person who knows your children well, and it's the same for absence. So if a member of staff phones in sick on the morning, they contact the school, they contact me, they contact our cover admin assistant who assigns the cover, and they have to supply a lesson plan into a folder, and the substitute teacher picks that lesson plan up and delivers the lesson as planned by the specialist. So they're experienced in motivating students, in ensuring that the students are engaged in the lesson plans that are delivered. They don't plan the lessons. That's the key. The teacher plans the lessons, whether they're absent for sickness, or whether they're absent for known absence for a trip, or for, in this case, a honeymoon. Now, for short term, we will use a substitute teacher. So this week, because for continuity, Miss Una Chi is the substitute teacher. You may remember her. She's covered for Miss Rowe for maternity cover about 18 months ago, 2 years ago. So engaged, known by the school, been with the school a long time, knows the systems, knows the procedures, knows many of the students too. So she's covering for the entire week. Now, in grades K to grade 3, we've got a new appointment this year in the TA's classroom practitioners. So you've still got that continuity of an adult in the classroom who knows your students very well and has been working with your students all year. So in grades K to 3, you have that additional adult who is a constant presence in the homeroom alongside the homeroom teacher, who works with the homeroom teacher very closely and knows your students. Now, for a long-term absence, we will get somebody in. So, the main ones tend to be, in my experience, a critical illness or a maternity. So when a cover is known that that's going to be for a short or extended period of time, we employ a substitute. Now the difference there is that teacher then takes over the planning of the lessons. So I'm going to go back to Miss Chi, who's currently substituting in grade 3. When she covered for Miss Rowe was off for 3 months or 6 months for maternity, so she's not expected to plan all those lessons in her absence. That would be counterproductive to her being on maternity leave. So in that case, the substitute teacher will plan the lessons and plan the learning outcomes and plan the engagement activities and differentiate the learning for the students in the classroom. So that's essentially how it works. Now, there are times in the year where we have multiple staff absence. The substitute teacher covers across the entire school K to 12. If the middle school, high school have got kayak trips and it's the winter and there's lots of staff off with illnesses or the flu, we've only got 4 substitute teachers employed by the school. So when they're fully booked, if you like, we have a couple of on-call substitutes that we work with on a regular basis, and we call them in. Now, one of those is Miss Hong, who worked for the school for about 30 years before she retired. So again, somebody knows the school, somebody knows the systems in the school. So when we have large numbers of absence, we call in external additional substitutes. In the case where we still can't cover all the absence, then the teachers will cover absence in their free periods when they haven't got contact. So for example, yesterday, or the day before, I was covering art for kindergarten because the kindergarten teacher was absent. Art teacher, I should say. Kindergarten art teacher absent. So I was covering because there weren't any substitutes available. And it's the same in middle school, same in the high school. Teachers will cover teachers once we get to that limit and all of our substitutes are being used. Why we try and avoid that is because often that time goes into planning and collaboration meetings, staff have duties, Sometimes we have to cancel activities that the staff have planned because of cover. The most important thing at all times is as an adult, supervising and leading the learning in the room. So everything else, all meetings, everything else get cancelled when they need to be. But that's the reason why we have the cover supervisors, to minimise the impact on staff and staff workload and planned schedules. And I sort out the duties. So this screen is just a summary of what I've just run through. As a little summary, these slides will be available, so you can have a look at these slides at a later date. But that's just a summary of our systems and procedures for you. The other thing I wanted to talk about this morning, which keeps coming up in little bits of conversations, is about the expansion of the school. Over the last month, I've been working with the secondary school, with Mr. Moy Moy, with Mr. Chun, Dr. Granger, in looking at accommodation. And when I say accommodation, I'm talking about classrooms. So facilities, classrooms usage, and what we've decided is we're not going to wait until we need to make the changes. We're going to make those changes for next academic year. So what that means is I will take over 5 classrooms and an office space on the second floor, at the end of the second floor, and they were originally designed for the upper elementary, so they were originally elementary classrooms. I'm going to take them back over. So I'll be taking that space over. The reason we're doing that this summer, even though we don't need all the classrooms yet in elementary, is because we want to future-proof, so we're not moving one year, and then moving students again the next year, and moving students again the next year, and changing classes, and changing classes, and changing classes. So, over the summer, on the ground floor, on the first floor, on the right-hand side, next to the playground, will be grade 1, grade 2. On the left-hand side, as you walk down the corridor, will be grade 3, Korean language, art. And then we're going to have upstairs, grade 4 and grade 5, and a science technology style room upstairs. So we are making that move this summer. Kindergarten will move across into the space next to the atrium, with the access that runs out onto the playground from this side. So those changes will happen over the summer. Summarised behind me. I'm going to pause there briefly. Any questions? Okay, great. One of the other areas that keeps seeming to come up, and it come up a lot in the middle school, but I wanted to explain to you the whole school vision for outdoor education. At the beginning of this year, I employed David Yang, our new Director of PE, and one of the reasons I employed him was because of his love of outdoor pursuits and the impact of being outdoor for mental health and well-being. And when we think about health and PE education, mental health comes under that umbrella. So this year, at the end of last year, as part of a strategic move to increase the outdoor education provision, we introduced a grade 5 camp. Grade 5 went to the west coast, near Boyong, in Boyong, and they did some water sports and went to residential there. This year, we've started this year with a grade 5 experience on campus, because what we realised was that was the first time that any of them had ever been away from home. And staying in school for your first residential experience, where it's a known space, is a safer mental haven for students. So we put in a grade 5 indoor camping experience at the beginning of this year, so that when they go away at the end of this year, grade 5, it's not their first time that they come together as grade 5, it's not the first time they've stayed overnight, it's an easier transition for them. In the middle school and high school they have retreats, other activities as well, so we are preparing students for that transition through. We're going to bring that down into grade 4 this year, so at the end of grade 4 we're going to repeat that experience inside the campus, camping in the classrooms or in the AC, eating in the kitchen on the second floor, cooking their own food. We're going to bring that camping experience indoors into the end of grade 4. Then when they transition into grade 5, we'll do an outdoor camp. There's a campsite close to school, around about 4 kilometres away, that I found that's suitable for, and we're going to try that and see what that's like, see if we can book that. So we have an indoor experience, an outdoor experience camping, and then they go away for residential further afield. So you can see we're kind of building up a programme for opportunities for students for outdoor pursuits. In addition to that, we're looking at how can we provide other opportunities for students through hiking and camping, rather than camping, through hiking, through maybe climbing or low road courses. We found a low road course that the middle school used. That was really, the middle school was just a little bit too big for it, so it's absolutely ideal for elementary. So we're exploring whether we can use that. David's very keen in maybe having some community events on weekends with families as well, doing family hikes, bringing the community together. But we are looking at routes, and every time I go out hiking, I'm looking at, is this going to be good for elementary? Is this going to be good for elementary? I think I found one, and then I'm going to check it out this weekend. So David and I, we keep exchanging routes that we walk over the weekends and go, well, what do you think about this? So we're looking for opportunities where it's safe for students to come together and experience the basics of walking in the countryside. I'm very keen, again, skiing. Our location here, opportunities for skiing, we'll see how that comes over the winter as the snow falls, probably into semester 2. But again, even if we don't push into that during the school day, maybe we can arrange something for a weekend where we say, okay, grade 2 are going to go to Muju this weekend and we're all going to go and then skiing, and maybe we can get some cost savings on an instructor that allows our students to be able to ski in the group. So again, something that we're thinking about, given our location. And I just mentioned the cooking skills there at the bottom, because one thing that we noticed when we were working with the grade 5 at the beginning of this semester is many of them had no idea how to cook or even clean vegetables. So I think that's really important that over these experiences we also support basic cooking skills and knowledge of cooking hygiene for our students. So that's an area that we're pushing into. You'll see in the middle school and high school that they're looking at overseas trips. We're a little bit ambitious in looking at Nepal this year. We had to pull back on that one. But it is part of our long-term vision for that continuity of progression as the students transition out of elementary into middle school, high school. What do we have in the expansion of outdoor pursuits? So one of the other areas that I'm really pushing into at the moment with Miss Noelle Lee is our science curriculum, basically, science technology curriculum. You know that I've already created a space for digital learning within the Learning Commons, so we're going to have a green screen in there, still waiting for the delivery. We're going to have a 3D printer, green screen, sound recording, so that we can start looking at how we support presentations better and presentation skills, which is really important in 21st century learning, skills that employers are asking for beyond academics nowadays. They want to know, are students proficient with AI? Can they present? Can they critically analyse data? So presentation skills is something that is increasing in the demand for employers. So we have created the space in the Learning Commons, and we're looking at our curriculum for our digital media curriculum, looking at our digital media space down there, so referencing, layering, making sound, video editing, those sorts of presentation skills beyond just simple Canva, PowerPoint. So we're looking at how we support students in understanding how they present themselves, and that's part of a strategic direction that we've already seen a change for. Where we're pushing a little bit further now is I'm very keen on introducing coding as a way of thinking, as a critical way of thinking in K2 through to grade 2. Coding, I often hear parents say, you don't need to code anymore, AI will do it for you. Well, how do you know AI is doing it right? How do you critically analyse AI's code if you don't have a basic level of coding? Is one argument. But my argument is this. Coding teaches a logical deduction, iterative thought process. It is one of the processes that things go wrong. You have to work out why it's gone wrong. You have to problem solve. Coding teaches a way of thinking. It teaches a way of critical thinking. So introducing coding into the curriculum for next academic year from grade 1 to grade 3, K2 to grade 2, as a taught curriculum, enables us then to also introduce more technology into our current units of inquiry of science within grade 4 and 3, 4 and 5. So for example, I used this example before, we do a solar oven in grade 4 as part of our science experiments with the conduction and heat and transfer energy from the sun. The oven is created by the students, they put it outside, they cook food. Well, wouldn't it be great to stick some sensors in there, to record data, to analyse data? Maybe we can program it to open the door once it reaches a certain temperature, or the core temperature of the food is at a certain temperature. We can start introducing layers of technology into existing projects. So that's an example of one of the areas that we're trying to push into. We're introducing more robotics into the Boost program. We bought these little, at the end of last year, I bought some Sphere and Bolt Plus. They're little round balls that have got gyroscopes in them, and you can use Scratch coding, you can use Python coding, and again, it makes that more interactive. Ms. Lee is very keen to enter our students into a robotics competition in May this year, and that's something that she'd like to do every year to, again, create more opportunity for our students to compete outside of school. I've made connections with 5 schools in the south of South Korea to look at how we can support opportunities for students within our group of schools, rather than always travelling up to Seoul, which is what currently happens. And one of the other areas that we're pushing into is our science curriculum and what that looks like, and how we introduce more opportunities for developing ways of thinking, for inquiry, for conjecturing, for analysing, for presenting results, and how do we look at our approach to scientific inquiry. More experiments, basically. So STEAM is something that is going to run through a theme, is how do we do that? How do we increase our curriculum? Well, we do it by looking at our school day. Because it's really important that we don't sacrifice other elements of our curriculum. I could take music out of the curriculum. I don't want to take music out of the curriculum. I could take art out of the curriculum. I don't want to do that either. So how do I create time? Is by looking at the school day, looking at our Boost program, And at the moment we have 6 50-minute lessons. We have a 50-minute boost, and then a second 50-minute boost. The school day starts, well, we come into school around 8, and we leave around about 4:15, 4:20. For most students. So, if you take cognitive load theory, timetables are often built around 20-minute blocks. That's because, in terms of the way that our human minds work, we tend to be efficient in blocks of 20 minutes. We're very efficient at the start, for about the first 10 minutes, we have a bit of a dip, and then we remember what's at the very end. And after 20 minutes, young minds, cognitive load. Too much. So timetables are often built around 20-minute blocks. We've got 50-minute blocks. Doesn't quite make sense to me. So, if I can look at the way the school day works, then maybe I can introduce some house events, something that I think we're sorely missing in terms of opportunity for healthy competition. Korean, I'll come to that one later. Obviously lots and lots of science, because we love science. And, you know, where can we make some adjustment in maths? So this year, I already made some adjustments to the timetable this academic year. We had 3 lessons of maths in some year groups, we had 8 lessons of English, so I standardised that, 10 lessons of English and 4 lessons of maths in every year group. Well, I can look at this again if I'm looking at the school day. So, not a lot of change. But if I take 5 minutes off of every lesson and go from a 50-minute lesson to a 40 or 45-minute lesson with transitions, I can still maintain the same proportion of English and maths, but I can create another lesson in the day. There's pros and cons to that argument. More subjects across the day, more cognitive load, but it creates more opportunities. So we're going to engage in a consultation process with parents over the next sort of 6 weeks. I'm still in the process. This hasn't been ratified on what the model may look like. I'm looking at different models at the moment, what the school day may look like, the implications for and against. But by doing that, I can create space. And that space allows me to introduce more science. It allows me to, not necessarily more science, but be able to take the science that we have and go into more depth. Or to take the English we have and go into a little bit more depth. But it does create opportunities for me by having a look at our school day. So that's something that I'm working on right now. This is something that's very important because if we're going to change the school day, then that has implications for parents, it has implications for lunchtimes, and bus pickups, and has implications for any academies that you have outside of school, so we need to have that process before Christmas and make a decision before Christmas. So we're going to enter into a consultation process. I'm going to show you some models, go into this in a little bit more detail, but I wanted to give you a bit of a heads up so you can start being aware of some of the areas that I'm pushing into. Right. I would love to have a parent choir in the Christmas concert. I'm saying it now because that's around about 7 weeks away. Around about 7 weeks away. I want to support community engagement, something I've done in previous schools, Christmas choir, parent ambassadors, parents leading tours of the school, parents involved in concerts, parents performing on stage. We had yesterday our staff band, newly formed, play in our chapel. So maybe a parent musical performance, maybe maybe a traditional Korean musical instrument that has hidden talents amongst our parent community. But I would like to have a Christmas choir that were part of the Christmas performance at the end of the year. I think that would be lovely for that sense of belonging and community. So I'm just throwing this one out there. Okay? We can facilitate a rehearsal space. And it's good to be a role model for your children, to get on stage. Christmas Bazaar. Okay, coming up on the 6th of December. Now, I wasn't here last Christmas, so I've never seen the Christmas Bazaar here. My understanding is that it's like a fete with lots of stalls and you can buy products. Our Echo children's group are creating Christmas cards this year. What we're going to do is we're going to print those, and then we'll add 20% to the print cost, and then charge to parents a return of profit, hopefully, when we sell out, and then we can have some money raised for charity. But we're going to just basically charge a little percentage on top of the print cost. And that will be transparent. We'll tell you how much it costs to print and how much we're selling them for. But if you are looking to volunteer, just a plug for the parent teacher rep, Barbara.
They're already in.
There's lots online.
Yes.
Right, so that's mostly announcements. Now, a couple of days ago, I received a link to your questionnaire. So I'm going to run through your questions, and then if we get time, I may talk about something else, but we'll see how we go with the questions and answers, and see if there's any other questions that come out. I have no idea what time we're on. Okay, we're about halfway. Any questions before I go forward on any of the areas I've highlighted? Okay. Good. Right. So let's look at the questions that came in from the parents. So we've already addressed this one. One of the questions that came in was who's covering for Miss Lee on her holiday. Well, Miss Lynn's still in the room, and we have our internal cover supervisor, Miss Chi. She's covering there. Question about teacher assistants in grade 4 and 5. At the beginning of this academic year, I expanded the staff in the elementary school by introducing teacher assistants in grades 1 to 3. That's part of a strategic movement. We are looking at our position and our provision in grade 4 and 5. We are looking at this over our recruitment for next academic year. So it's a little bit of watch this space. Right now, I'm in the middle of recruitment. So I spoke to a classroom practitioner this morning. I spoke to an ELL teacher. We've offered a new ELL position next year. I've been interviewing for grade 1. I've secured the grade 1 classroom practitioner. We're due to interview the final interview for the grade 1 teacher this week. So we're in that process of recruitment right now. So in terms of our CP provision in grade 4 and 5, it is being considered. I cannot say at this point whether we're going to have a CP as grade 4 and 5 in January, but certainly it's something we're looking at for next academic year. What that looks like in terms of support. The CP is in the classroom to support the learning under the direction of the lead teacher. The reason we didn't put into 4 and 5 originally this year is because I held a very, very hard line on the admissions into grade 4 and 5 on English proficiency. Knowing that there wasn't going to be the additional adult in the room, but also There's a certain level of independence that comes with age, and I want to differentiate between what I call lower elementary, grades 1 to 3, and upper elementary, grades 4 and 5. So when we come to upper elementary, there's a shift in the style of learning, as well as the amount of independence, ability to make deductive reasoning, the ability to have discernment in decision making. So there's a maturity level into grade 4 and 5. So with limited knowledge last year of what was going to happen at the beginning of this year in terms of expansion, I couldn't say at that time that we could justify opening up the CP position in grade 4 and 5. I had to be prudent because we didn't know what was going to happen with the ordinance, and it might have been that we stayed in the same status quo that we were in last academic year. So we are now in the process of expansion, and as such we are looking at the CP position for grade 4 and 5, but there's no definitive. Right now, I can't tell you, yes, we're going to get one in January, no, we're not going to get one in January, because I'm in the middle of recruitment. That's as much as I can say on that, because I'm recruiting. And I've got to find the right person with the right skills for grade 4 and 5 that's different to the skills required for grade 1 to 3. So I've got to find the right match. Now this is blank. I have asked Bonnie upstairs in the university guidance to give me a summary. There was a summary, some summary that went out, I think, to parents in the middle and high school. I'll put it in when I share the slides. I haven't received it yet, so I haven't got a summary that I can be able to share with you. I've got an executive summary, but that has all the student names on, so I can't share that with you because that's full disclosure. So I'm looking for a summary of the university admissions, the university, the IBDP results, the graduation. It was good. It was good. The last academic year, there was some very, very strong applications and university acceptances. It's an odd one, university guidance, because what's the best thing is fit. Barbara will share something.
There's quite a few of the university admission results on the website. If you go to the lower down the page.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. I'll put the link in.
They can't hear me.
On the web page, apparently, if you scroll down somewhere, there's a lot of information there. I'll put the link in, and I'll see if there's a short summary that I can get from the secretary team, and I'll put it in the slides. What I was saying about university guidance is everything we do, all the way from grade 1 through to K-12, is designed to support your child to be successful in the next phase. And the foundations we lay in elementary, the habits that your children form, the pursuits and interests and passions that they garner, help support them in that process of being ready to matriculate into employment or matriculate to university, depending on their decision at the end of grade 12. Everything from the application process for Stuka, where students have to sell themselves. Because when you do university guidance, when you write a letter of application for a job, you are selling yourself. So we introduce these skills in grade 3, in grade 4, in grade 5, that they build upon and refine as they move through the middle to high school into employment beyond school. So everything's really quite carefully crafted to support university guidance. The passions and interests, the booster program, the risk-taking, the public speaking is all there to support your students getting to the point where they can matriculate and be successful beyond school. And yes, we have foundational skills at elementary level, in core foundational skills in reading, in literacy, in fluency, in mathematics. We have skills in presentation, numeracy, but there's softer skills. Presentation. The reason I'm so insistent that that we have musical performances in assembly is because it gives students opportunities to get on stage to, in a safe environment, be proud of their talents, but also to take risks to perform in front of people, because the more they do it, the easier it becomes, and we develop and build upon it in future years. So, really important question, but I would like to take that back a little bit more to the fact that what you do as parents in supporting your child's interests is already preparing them for university. I've touched a little bit on this already, opportunities for students. I talked a little bit about the school day. This theme came through in some of your questions about the learning environment and opportunities for students. So this question, and I think the next one, which is very similar, diversification of the BOOST programme, and possibly the next one, no, that's not the next one. There were a number of questions that asked about extended opportunities, school trips, BOOST, curriculum. With the expansion of the school comes greater opportunity, because we have more cohorts, we can achieve more, we can have more depth in terms of soccer teams, we can introduce volleyball teams, we can have a more rich and diverse BOOST programme if we have more staff providing opportunities. When there's a small staff, the choice is smaller. The bigger the staff, the bigger the choice. So an expanding school provides opportunities by itself. But we are looking at opportunity for students. We've already extended the student leadership opportunities this year with the librarians and the ECHO committee, as well as STUDCO. We are looking at fencing, which has gone down really well with parents. 46 interested parents for fencing for season 2, and Mr. Wang, who was here just now, he met with the fencing instructor today for another meeting, and he was showing me that the instructor used to coach the junior Olympic team. So, I don't get standard. Not too shabby, as we say in the UK. Not too shabby. I am looking at the BOOST programme. That comes back again to maybe looking at how our school day functions, looking at what that looks like. Do we have a compulsory BOOST or not? Do we have options? Do we introduce house competitions? That's part of looking at extended opportunity. Trips fall into that as well. I think there's another slide for trips later. But in terms of the BOOST, again, what that looks like will depend somewhat in terms of where we go strategically, and if we change the school day, that may affect what we look like with the BOOST. So, for example, I have spoken to a lady who lives over the road, who used to be an orchestral conductor for elementary school in Seoul. She's moved to Daejeon with her husband. She's pregnant, due to give birth in March. But I've already said to her, would you like to maybe run our elementary orchestra? Now, I would like to put the orchestra on a Monday, because at the moment, it clashes with football. It clashes with, I think what else is on Thursday, but it clashes. The reason we don't have it on Monday is because the staff are in PD. So Mr. War is in PD with the rest of the staff, and therefore he can't be in two places at the same time. But if I can get a director of orchestra to come in and run our orchestra, then I can put that on a Monday, and then I can free up more opportunity on Thursday. Does that make sense? Okay. So I am looking at it. I am keen to also develop grade 4 and 5 in terms of reflection, in terms of what they're getting out of BOOST. I'm putting in a tiered level where we have an exposure level, and then we follow that with a skills level and then a mastery level. So we can start looking at our programme from grade 1 and see how students can move through from exposure to mastery. And if you take music as an example, playing a music instrument, playing in a string quartet, playing in a full orchestra, there are different skills that come through musical performance. I would love to have a school play. I even know which plays I would use for about the next 4 years, which I think are very good elementary school plays. I said last month, or last time we spoke about Trinity College music exams, Trinity College performance exams. We're now an accredited centre, as I said last time. So I'm meeting with their representative on Friday tomorrow to go through the curriculum to see how we can support other areas of performing arts within the Boost programme. So this is very much an area that's close to my heart in terms of holistic growth and character development for children. When I read this question last night, sorry I only got these yesterday. When I read this question last night, I was a little bit, I don't know who asked the question, but I was a little bit, I think there's two areas here. When we talk about differentiation, we normally talk about one class. So I'm teaching a maths class, I plan my resources, I scaffold, I plan for language development, I plan for extension activities that enable students with different abilities to engage and progress. That's what I class as differentiation. I think this question, however, is referring more to what we call a scheme of work or scope and sequence or vertical alignment between year groups. Because the question up here across year groups. So our scheme of work is a progressive scheme of work that develops upon itself each year. When we look at what we call our vertical alignment between grades, between grade 1 to grade 5 or kinder to grade 5, we look at how our skills develop at grade appropriate level. What skills, based on international standards, does a grade 3 student need in mathematics? And we look at various different standards. We look at Ontario standards, we look at USA, UK standards, and we make a decision what standards we would wish to use for our students. And there are different standards that we may draw upon, but it gives us an idea that our curriculum has the robust academic rigour that's required to be successful to prepare students for middle school. So we draw upon standards and curricula across many nations, American Common Core, UK National Curriculum, Australian, Ontario standards, Canadian standards, and we look at what we feel is appropriate and the best fit for us, for our students. Now, sometimes people get confused around the PYP. The PYP does not decide the curriculum in the school. The PYP provides the framework on how we teach it, not the content. So, whilst we are a PYP school, the PYP does not say, you have to teach this content. That only happens when they get to the DP. When they get to the diploma, they have to say that because they're doing an external exam. So they have to make sure that the student has been properly prepared for the exam that's written. So when we get to the diploma level in grade 11 and 12, the DP is, the IBO, the International Baccalaureate Organisation, is very specific. This is the maths curriculum that you have to teach, because this is the exam. This is your art curriculum, because this is our assessment criteria and exam. So they don't dictate the content, they don't dictate the standards. What they look for is approaches to learning and a framework for student learning attributes and for collaborative planning, for interdisciplinary planning, for big concepts that transcend across different disciplines. So the IB is very much around, we don't have a blinkered view. This is maths, this is history, this is geography. It says, right, let's look at this and let's see how this is all connected within big concepts. So our units of inquiry is where we draw that together. And that's where I'd like to push some more science into as well next year, and linking more science and ways of thinking to some of that content. Vertical alignment. I think this question is about, but if it's not, then it's about planning for scaffolding and extending, which I call the craft of teaching, because teaching's a craft. Teachers get better. The more, I'm 30 years in the profession and I still learn. Nobody's perfect. There's no, everybody's got room for improvement. So teaching is a craft. It can be learnt and mastered. So the differentiation is a core, fundamental aspect of that craft of teaching. Right, I said I'd come back to Korean, didn't I? This is the reason why. I was a founding member of North London Collegiate School in Jeju, and we did run the Korean National Recognition Merit Certificate. What it means is that when students matriculate from high school, they can enter into Korean universities. So this process is generally led by the secondary school. So we are looking at it. We have had conversations, we haven't made any decisions. I can't go into any more detail than that because I haven't been involved in those conversations. I do know, though, that if we do say we are going to pursue the Korean certificate, if we know that the need and the demand from our students and our parents are indicating that more students want to go to Korean universities, we will react to that. What it means for elementary is that I have to teach Korean social studies as well as Korean language. I have no choice, even though that's a high school, it's a progressive program that runs through. That means I need another 2 lessons of Korean in the timetable. So again, when I'm building the school, when I'm looking at the school day, I'm trying to future-proof our curriculum, and I'm thinking about more provision of maths and English. I'm also looking at opportunities to know that if we do follow this route, I don't have to rewrite the school day again, or rewrite the timetable again, or rewrite the academic provision again, that I'm kind of future-proof that decision making. So the difference it will make is around about 2 lessons a week at elementary level. As it stands at the moment, if we were not to change the school day, we would have to take something out of the curriculum. And as I said earlier, do I take music out to put extra Korean in? Or do I take art or Soaring Dragons? What would have to come out? So, yes, I'm aware. And I'm trying to future-proof it. But at the moment, we haven't pursued, we're not in the process of pursuing, because that would affect all curriculum in every year group. But just be aware that I understand what's required at the elementary. So if the school decides that they're going down that route, then we can react to that. One change I have made for next year, it was odd to me that kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2 had 2 lessons of Korean, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5 had 3 lessons of Korean, so I've made it 3 in every year group. That's one change I haven't made for next year. just so you're aware. Recruitment. So, what am I looking for? What values am I looking for? When I recruit, when I'm talking to staff, the first thing I'm looking for, are they a passionate teacher and are they student-centred? Do they truly care and have a heart for children? That for me is the most important thing. Are they passionate and do they have a heart for children? I also like to, obviously they have to have a depth of curriculum knowledge and pedagogical approach. They need to be able to teach. So we do ask them to teach. We ask them to teach either in school or we ask them to send us a video of them teaching so we can see them teaching. So that's really important. Curriculum instruction is really important. Yes, as a philosophy, design, they got a proclivity, they have got a propensity to seek professional development, to continue to want to develop as a practitioner. Are they collaborative in nature? These are some of the areas that I push into when we're talking to prospective staff. All our faculty staff are Christian, so they have to be aligned with a Christian ethos. Basically, I'm looking at, do I think that they're going to be a good fit for our community? And it's not just my decision. I interview with other members of the elementary team. We then had a second round of interviews with Mr. Moymoy and Mr. Chuck, and myself, and the elementary team who were in the first interview. So we have an interview process, we watch them teach, we dig into their character and whether we believe they're going to be a good fit for our community, whether they've got that heart that's student-centred or student-focused. The other questions here were around, what was it, winter breaks. No, we don't do anything in the winter break. There are no plans for winter in terms of engagement activities or camps. It's Christmas. Many of our staff will travel home. They'll go home to their families on Christmas. So, in terms of homework and expectations, I've always just set reading over the vacation, Christmas vacation, encourage students to continue reading, because it's their break as well. It's really important when we look at the school calendar, and again come back to tiredness after 16 weeks of academic learning. Everybody needs a break. You need a break as parents, in terms of trying to encourage and motivate. Do your homework. I know you're tired. Do your homework. Parents need a break. Students need a break. Staff need a break. So no, we don't put things in over Christmas. Quite simply. Over Chuseok, I think we did a bug hunt. That was organised by some of the staff. Staff can offer to put things together over the holidays, but we don't ask staff. We don't expect staff to. We say this is your vacation. You're tired. You've earned it. Go and have a good rest. Because what I need is the staff to come back in semester 2, energised, refreshed, and healthy, so that we don't have those absences and cover that we talked about earlier. Filters. I kind of covered this a little bit earlier. Last year we didn't have many field trips. So I said to the staff at the end of last academic year, you need to make sure that you're putting field trips into every grade level. So a minimum of 2 or 3 field trips for home teachers, and then the field trips for staff. It's better this year. There is a calendar where they've looked at their curriculum, they've looked at and they said, okay, this will fit a field trip here, this will fit a field trip here. It has to have an educational purpose, really, because we're taking students out of in-class learning. We know that field trips engage students, bring learning to life, make connections that you can't make in the classroom. They are very, very valuable as a learning experience. So I said to the staff at the end of last year, make sure that you've planned at least 2 or 3 field trips. So there is a calendar. We can get the ES office to pull that calendar together of when the field trips are for next semester, or even for the remainder of this semester. Then there are emergent field trips. So, Mr. Moore, I think he's taking grade 3 to a musical performance. Something may come along. Last year, we had a Van Gogh exhibit in the Daejeon Art Museum. Well, when these things come around, that might be something that, see if we can get a field trip together and see if we can get the students out there. So there's a difference between planned field trips against your curriculum and then emergent field trips. Also trying to look at with Mr. Yang, looking for a house field trip. I would love to have a house field trip where we have a picnic by house, and each house walks a different route, and they have their own annual hike and picnic. So that's something else that we've been talking about as well. I think we're getting there. Oh, there's more. Winter camp, we've covered that. Yes, we did have a science camp last summer that went through on the weekends. That was in connection with the Daejeon Observatory. We also had a camp at the beginning of the summer for a couple of weeks. I was around for a week after the end of last year, the end of term, and then went to the UK for 2 weeks. When I came back, I managed to catch parts of that camp, and then that was running at the beginning of the summer. So there are summer camps, 3 weeks. 3 weeks of summer camps, and they're scheduled and planned, and there'll be another one next year. Okay, any more questions? Because I need a drink of water. What time are we on?
We are 1:32.
Perfect. Okay. Nice to join us. I don't know if I'm in the camera. I've got no idea whether I'm wandering in and out of the camera, so sorry for parents online. Nice for you to join us if you're online, and thank you for parents for joining us in the room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the idea of you sharing questions with me. That was really useful. That was really useful because it enabled me to be able to answer and speak to what the parents want to know. Yeah.
I just wanted to relay the question that we wanted to be answered. Now my mind.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm more than happy. I think I covered every question there. I like that fact that you provided those questions, because before it was very much, well, what do you want me to talk about? I will share. I've got about half an hour before the next meeting. If you want to chat and have a coffee, I'm more than happy to stay for half an hour. I'm just going to grab a coffee there.
Oh, you can grab me. I'll wait.
I can talk.
These days, sometimes I get frustrated when I'm trying to help my son when he does the math homework. Actually, with the math, the way that I learned in Korea, the way we solve the problem is different than right now the EJ solves the problem. I can give him my way of solving problems, but I want to let him to learn how school teaches. So when my son had part-time solving some math problems, I don't know how school teaches, so I cannot explain to him. I cannot help him at all. So that time I get very frustrated.
Okay. So, what we are looking at is our parent workshop calendar. I'll do a maths. We'll look at a maths one. One of the things we are